looking down the road just like I always do. Well, hello Matrix. Welcome back to the channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be, wherever you might be watching this video. My name is Philip. This is The Inner Road. If you are a returning visitor, thank you so much for coming back. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for that. If you are new to the channel, welcome to The Inner Road. My name is Philip. Today is going to be a lovely little ride that I just discovered recently on a group ride with a bunch of my good friends in the local biking community. We just left Monticello Road, Monticello Avenue in Charlottesville. We're going to, as we have this Thanksgiving week here, one of the, the most American of holidays in potentially one of the most American of towns, Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm on Monticello Road, and that's because we're heading towards, I'm not going to be stopping there today, but I'm going to be heading toward Monticello, the leftover legacy of Thomas Jefferson, our third president here in America. We're also at some point going to pass James Monroe, the fifth president, his legacy, home and land. Both of those, of course, issues related to slavery, a huge component now of the tours that you'll take and the legacy that those institutions are dealing with, the American institution in general, obviously. But yeah, we are going to be riding past some of these incredible American landmarks, the founding fathers, probably some mothers as well, and also just enjoying this mid to late November weather here, getting out for a quick little clear my head kind of ride and talk a little bit about Thanksgiving and what it means to me. I'd love to hear what it means to you. Put it in the comments. Here it is. Hallowed ground, National Scenic Byway. This is only my second Thanksgiving back in America after 17 years of living in England. And so many years there, I had people asking me about Thanksgiving. It just I would say to them, hey, happy Thursday. And everyone else here in America, I would say happy Thanksgiving. Oh, by the way, here's another legacy of America. This is the Mickey Tavern. Mickey Tavern, that's how that's pronounced. And this goes back to the late 1700s, so 18th century. Again, another American treasure. And this one is actually interesting because it's not in its original location. It existed 17 miles away from where it is right now. It got literally put together piece by piece here after having been moved to that location. I think the location choice was just because it was closer to Thomas Jefferson's Monticello, and they thought, well, that would be a better place to put it. Look at this ride. Oh my gosh, I got to try to pay attention to while I'm talking to you. It's awesome. So yeah, the Mickey Tavern. I haven't actually been there, but it's got quite a history, and I think someday I'm going to pop in there and test some of their food and drink and just get caught up in the American tradition of it all. So yeah, so that's our first stop. Of course, we didn't really stop. We passed the Mickey Tavern, an American tradition there. And now we're riding up toward Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. And you can see right here, this would be where we would take the right if we were going to do that. There you go. The right there would take us to Monticello. We're not going to do that today. We want to enjoy the ride a little bit more than that. It is such a pleasant ride. But yeah, so living in England for 17 years and kind of not getting the full American Thanksgiving experience, it's kind of fun to be back. And I thought I'd give you a little sense of what my Thanksgivings were like growing up before I moved to England. See, I'm an Italian American, and I come from proper Italians. Like, my mother was born in Italy. She immigrated here when she was about 12 years old, came over on a boat through Ellis Island, the whole Statue of Liberty thing. My grandfather was actually in Argentina at that time. He had left the family after the war and was living in Argentina, and eventually found his way up to New York and New Jersey, and was able to then bring his family, his wife and his 3 kids, my mother, her sister, and her brother, over to America. And so she came over when she was about 12-ish, I think that's when it was. And when I was born in New Jersey, there was more Italian spoken in my house than English for the first few years. I mean, it was, for all intents and purposes, my grandfather owned an Italian cafe, the Cafe Roma in East Rutherford, or East Rutherford, New Jersey, I think it was. And yeah, I grew up around Italians, pure immigrant Italians. And my grandmother, both of them were basically lived next door to us, so I spent most of my time with them, trying to get fed as much as I could because the food was amazing, as you might imagine. So I would sometimes, I was told that I would go over to the apartment next to where my family was living, to my grandparents, my mamanon and papanon, as we called them. And I would tell them that I hadn't eaten dinner yet so that she would feed me, which I think is just classic Philip. If you had eaten their food, you would have done the same thing. I'm telling you, seriously. It's like the best Italian restaurant that ever existed. I grew up right next door to it in my family. Yeah, so my mother was born in a tiny little town inland from Naples. The town was called Qualieta, a little interesting town. It was actually moved in modern era because of earthquakes. The town existed on a hill with a castle right up on top. I'll show you a picture of that. That's Qualieta. And they basically made a life for themselves in North Jersey, where a lot of Italian Americans are. Yes, the Sopranos and all that kind of stuff. And I grew up that way. And then around the time I was about probably 6, 7 maybe, my family, my parents, moved myself and my brother to Illinois, to Cornfield, Illinois, about as white, waspy, Protestant place as you can get. We were so unique. We were look, here's a sign for Highland. That's James Monroe. That's if you want to go see the 5th president of the United States, his legacy, that's right there. So yeah, so we moved to Illinois, and we were an oddity. I'll tell you, we were loud and Italian, very much Italian Americans. Raised as much as we could as American boys. My mother was really clear about that. That's what she wanted. And because she had also acclimated to America. And, she basically enjoyed being a young American teenager growing up. So she really wanted that for us. But it was quite fun. We would get packages in the mail regularly from my grandmother, my mom and aunt, with all the goodies from, the Italian delis and things she would make for us. And the boxes would show up randomly at our house in Illinois with literally like oil stains from all the sausage and the cheese. The people who lived out there just looked at us they loved it because they could come over and eat with us, and it was good fun for them. And it was unique. But it was, we stood out, that's for sure. It was good memories, actually, being that kind of American, somehow holding on to that legacy of being Italian, or at least having Italian heritage. So this is Thanksgiving week, and I hope that you have great plans. I am going to be spending Thanksgiving here in Charlottesville this year. Not going to be able to connect with family, unfortunately, this year. That's just the way it goes sometimes. It's okay. But I wanted to just step you through very quickly what an Italian-American Thanksgiving is like. And why don't you, if you feel like it, tell me in the comments. What's a traditional Thanksgiving for you and your family, either when you were young or even now? But here's the way. So my family, the Italian-American family that I grew up in, we still to this day, we have this debate. It's an ongoing sort of debate about how to prepare for Thanksgiving, because there is so much food. And I know you're saying, no, we make a lot of food. You don't know what it's like to have a lot of food at Thanksgiving until you have been to an Italian-American Thanksgiving, right? So the debate that we have every year is, what makes the most sense? Do you start eating more than normal as you lead up to Thanksgiving, right? So you sort of start stretching the belly and start overeating as you approach the holiday? Or another argument is you eat significantly less so that you are excessively hungry come Thanksgiving. This is the actual debate that we have in my family. And I'm not sure that we've settled it, because at the end of the day, no matter what you do leading up to Thanksgiving, you're going to be eating a lot of food and you're going to love it. And you're going to be unbuttoning your belt, or undoing your belt and unbuttoning your pants and sitting on a couch and just gasping for air. There's a ton of food. All right, so a Thanksgiving meal for Italian Americans. First of all, the meal traditionally, historically, it's changed now because people live, we've all grown up and people have moved around the country. I moved to a different part of the world. But when I was young, I mean, you're talking about tables of more than a dozen, 15, 18 people potentially there, cousins, uncles, aunts, extended folks, family members. Just an incredibly large group, very loud, lots of energy, people seemingly yelling at each other when really they're expressing love for each other, because that's what Italians do. So it starts with just so many people, normally, traditionally. But then the first course comes out, and the course that probably one of my favorite courses in an Italian-American Thanksgiving is the antipasto. And this is just unbelievable amounts of what I guess you could think of today in a different word, maybe I guess a French word, is the charcuterie board, right? So this is an Italian charcuterie. We call it the antipasto. It's just unbelievable cured meats, right? So sausages, supersat, all kinds of dried cured pork product. There's no other way to say it. Oh, it's so good. And then, of course, just unbelievable kinds of cheeses, Italian cheeses, provolone, mozzarella, fresh mozzarella, some Reggiano Parmesan, some pecorino perhaps even cut up. Oh, ricotta salata. I'm telling you, if you don't know what these things are, you got to look them up. It's just amazing. Olives, lots of olives. Other sorts of goodies, like even sun-dried tomatoes potentially could be a modern touch to that. Probably less so in the old days. Some peppers, a lot of peppers, like sauteed peppers in an Italian olive oil style. So good. So that's the first course, and it is plenty, right? Like, it's enough that you could eat that and just probably call it a day. You could probably call it a day at that moment. Eventually, we move on to the Italian pasta course. Now, in my family, we never did. A lot of people Italian Americans will think that lasagna is a big thing for Thanksgiving for them. It wasn't for us. It would be homemade ravioli. That was definitely something that my mom and aunt would make. These days, my Italian American cousins who continue the tradition are more likely to do like a fettuccine Alfredo. Think about that, how heavy that is. Oh! A fettuccine Alfredo. Oh my goodness, right? So we've had the antipasto, then you have the fettuccine Alfredo, or perhaps you have homemade raviolis, right? Or even manicotti, you could do that. That's a whole nother option, but heavy, basically a stuffed pasta shell. Oh my goodness. All right, so then you eat all that, and then you go back down on the couch and maybe you go for a walk. You just try to digest that as best you can. And then, after that, is the full American Thanksgiving with all the fixings, the mashed potatoes, the vegetables, the sweet potatoes, the turkey, the stuffing. But of course, there's always a little bit of the Italian American even in that, like my cousin, who does a great Thanksgiving every year, who I unfortunately won't be able to be with this year, I'm hoping next year, does the mashed potatoes with, in the mashed potatoes is very finely chopped prosciutto and Parmesan and a little bit of pecorino, right? So even the mashed potato has a hint of the Italian American in it, which is so good. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So that goes, and then, of course, they also put out some kugel, which is another pasta dish at my cousin's house, because my cousin-in-law, her husband is Jewish, so we celebrate that with some kugel. So there's a second pasta dish, even if you want to count that, which I love. I love kugel. I never had it before I met Steve, and it is so good. So, and then, all right, so then you have your traditional Thanksgiving with, like I said, the turkey, the stuffing, everything else. And then finally you sit back down, you burp a lot, you unbutton your pants, you go for another walk, you complain about how you ate too much. And then sure enough, at some point, we're going to have the dessert. And there's going to be pies, and there's going to be cannoli, and there's going to be sfogliatelle. Sfogliatelle is a lovely Italian dessert. But the cannoli, that's sort of the beautiful traditional Italian-American dessert, cannoli. Also not responsible, but highlighted in one of my favorite moments in the movie The Godfather, where it's just one of the best scenes ever. They, unfortunately, of course, being The Godfather, someone gets killed after having picked up the cannoli at the bakery, and as they leave the body in the car, the character says,
"Leave the gun. Take the cannoli."
Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, it's so good. And then, guess what happens? You have your dessert, you go back on the couch, you do all the things you do because you've eaten too much. And then at some point, late at night, some brave souls will start thinking about either leftovers, like just going back in and kind of munching again, or, believe it or not, sometimes we would occasionally make something known as aglio olio. Aglio olio. It's a hard word to say, but basically it's oil and garlic and pasta. More spaghetti. I'm telling you, it should be criminal, the amount of food that the Italian Americans eat, at least my family. But it's pretty traditional. It's not just us. This reminds me, I once bought a cookbook an Italian cookbook for a friend. And it was, the reason I knew it was a good Italian cookbook is that it basically, after every recipe, it said, this recipe feeds 6. And then underneath that would say, or 3 Italians. Oh my God. We eat too much food. It's so good though. All right, so there you go. That is an Italian-American feast on Thanksgiving. I, of course, will not be doing all of that this year. I am going to make myself, I've chosen a pasta dish, so I'm going to make myself from scratch. That's what I'm going to do. Not going to do turkey. I do like turkey. I like tradition. I like the mashed potatoes, either traditional or the Italian-American kind. Actually, one of my favorite things. But I'm just going to do some pasta, lean into the Italian-American legacy this year here in Charlottesville for my Thanksgiving. Tell me, what are you doing? Put it in the comments. What's your favorite dish? Are you a mashed potatoes person? Are you a stuffing person? What is it? Turkey? Do you like turkey? I know there are some people out there who don't like turkey. I like turkey. I'm okay with it. Some people don't. Tell me what your Thanksgiving sort of meals are like and what your favorite dishes are. I'd love to hear it. Food is such an important part of the Italian-American experience. It was, I often would say, I was weaned on pasta. I pretty much was. So just, I hope whatever happens, whatever you eat, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, either with your loved ones, your family, your extended, or maybe you're visiting other folks, friends, however you're doing it. I hope you eat as much as you want. Remember a great line from a show I saw once called The Big C, linked to the work I do as a researcher in terms of accepting our mortality. Laura Linney's character in The Big C says at one point, life's too short for food rules. Go ahead and eat this Thanksgiving. Life is short, even in its longest days. So that's it for today. I just wanted to step you through this American town I live in, this American holiday, as an Italian American. What does it mean now that I'm back in America, approaching my second Thanksgiving back in the country? Thank you so much for checking out the channel. If you do ride safe. Whatever you ride your ride, no one else's ride. Be good to yourself, be good to each other. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and I hope to see you in the next one. Check you then.